Hey guys, Chris here from Carolot Farm. Well, we did it. We have survived Winter Storm Fern, the biggest sleet storm I have ever experienced for sure. In this video, it is truly my hope to share with you the good, the bad, the ugly, the challenges, the close calls, because between the 3 to 4 weeks and everything that we endured around here caring for our minis and just going about day-to-day life, as best we could given the conditions, it was quite something. And I do want to share it because I'm sure some of you had very similar experiences. And if you didn't and you're considering having livestock in the future, well, this could be a very real experience for you too someday. So check out these clips and hope you enjoy. Heading back out to the front barn, following those footprints. You can see here where the sleet is kind of falling off of the roof. It's definitely accumulating right here at the door and blocking it. So I'm gonna have to do some work there for certain. I was just watching the girls and I noticed that Snuggles was very reluctant to go into the stalls with the hay. And as I watched her a little bit longer, I saw her beginning to really slip and slide right in front of the stall there, the first stall. And so I scraped away the sleet and I spread some shavings just right away, hopefully to give her a little more traction, but it is still really slick out here. I am needing to shovel away this accumulated sleet from the back of my gate and from behind my hay barn. I had to do the same as well in front of my tack room so that I can actually open the doors. So now that everyone has been given hay, it's time to start clearing all of the sleet, hopefully off of my black mats. They're super slippery right now because they have all of that kind of slushy, icy stuff on them. So I'm just starting this process. I am using my stall cleaning shovel. It has a nice flat end. It's a very sturdy plastic shovel. It's not too heavy. Most of this is just so solid that I'm having to use my boot to kind of chop it up. The shovel is not able to break through it quite so easily. Inspecting the newly cleared mat. I have just finally finished clearing off the black mats. You can see here all of that frozen icy debris. I tossed it as far as I could with the hope that it will melt one day and drain away from the barn. You can just hear how frozen everything is as I walk along. Even though I worked to chop up my footsteps yesterday, they're still a bit slippery, so I need to slow down and just remind myself the last thing anyone needs is a fall. I'm back out here now for the third time today. I need to pick the stalls and the paddocks a little, but first I have to chisel out all of this frozen sleet that I unfortunately did not dump out of my wheelbarrow yesterday. So I've got my handy dandy wood board here. It's what I seem to use the most to chop things around the farm. I've got a lot of work ahead of me before you even start picking. Word to the wise, next time be sure to dump your wheelbarrow before it freezes solid. I don't know if you can tell in this video or not, but it's just warm enough today. It's about 31 degrees, and with the warm sunshine, the very top of everything is getting a little teeny melt, and then it's immediately freezing over. And so even our paths that had been roughed up that were giving us traction earlier are now becoming slick because every teeny little, nook and cranny is getting an extra icing over. So I have to be extra special careful as I move about the farm. I think I'm gonna take the metal shovel and go back and re-chop my paths because the situation is not going to improve anytime soon. I keep saying that, I know, but this freeze and, melt and refreeze is just going to continue for the next few days. Well, I just finished chopping the path from the front of the house all the way here to the front run-in where Lady and the boys are. It's a lot of work. I got really hot, took my jacket off. I still have picking to do, but this metal flat end shovel was the perfect thing to re-chop my path. After I finish picking, I need to do the same though for that back path that goes from the back porch down to the brown barn. But so far, making great progress here on the farm. This is day 3 of Winter Storm Fern, or 2 days post-storm, whatever you want to look at it. But we are still digging out and finding our way. I want to show you all of that shoveling work that we did yesterday has really, really helped because I now have a nice clear path all the way from my run-in gate to that manure pile. Very helpful. We have quite the ice sheet and icicles that are forming and slipping off the back side of our roof. It's a good thing though that this will not impact the horses. It would only fall on me as I'm walking to and from and around the barn. I'm having to look down and be careful where I'm walking. It's a little icy out here still. Today is Thursday. It is 4 days post-fern, 5 days of winter wonderland here, there, and everywhere. This is not a good sign. My water trough has frozen over, which tells me my de-icer is not working and may have come unplugged. So that's what I need to dig out today. I need to go and get my metal flat end shovel and carefully start digging around this to see if that connection maybe wiggled loose yesterday. Everything has been disconnected. My fence charger is no longer popping. And I know for certain that there's no power running over to that cord. As I worked to pull up that piece of ice, I did see where the plug has come up. That end is there. So now I'm left to some treasure hunting. I now have to carefully dig around to see if I can find the other end of the extension cord. So I use my shovel to chop up more of the ice. That cord has to, there it is. I think we have it all fixed and ready to go now. Fingers crossed. I've only roughed up the path from the backyard fence there to about halfway down to the barn, right here on the garden gate. And I'm finding that my forearms are getting pretty tired from all of that chopping. All of this redigging, rechopping. It's a lot of work, guys. I've just checked on the water for the girls. It looks good. Yesterday, we were having some challenges with this particular tub and de-icer. One, the cord had become disconnected on accident, and we didn't realize that until the trough froze over yesterday morning. So I dug down deep, I reconnected the extension power, which was buried under, 6 to 8 inches of ice. And then another challenge we had yesterday afternoon when I came out to feed dinner, I found that somebody, I can't say for sure who, but somebody here pulled the de-icer out of the trough. And I've heard that that's not good for the heating element, that it can actually break them. Fortunately though, our de-icer seemed to be working just fine, and I think it's gonna be okay. But I was worried that we had lost a de-icer, and in this cold weather, that would have been really, really unfortunate. So thank goodness everything looks good this morning. You just hear how icy everything is this morning. We had a little thawing yesterday, and so everything is very, very crunchy this morning. This path here, I chopped maybe 2 days ago to keep it from getting slick, and it's beginning to get a little slippery, so perhaps today I'll come out and re-chop this path. Always something to do. We are continuing to get some melting action out here on top of our shade shelter. This is over top Sweetheart's preferred feedlot. So I'm gonna see if I can't chop it up and help it off the top now. Well, I've been able to loosen up a nice big chunk here. So this is a start. I mean, look at that thick, dense layer of ice. I am thinking that if I am careful, I can bring this whole great big sheet down. I'll have to put the phone down, but I'm really happy to see that it's loose and ready to come off. I feel I can say that the roof has satisfactorily been cleaned and is now safe to use. I just need to chop up that little bit of snowy ice between the bucket and the gate. I have done as much digging and chopping of ice as I can for the day. I'm kind of worn out. I think this looks good though for Sweetheart. We're gonna try this evening to feed her here and see what she thinks. Today is day 8 and things are actually more slick than days past. And so I'm re-chopping my paths because they are beginning to get very, very slippery. We've got some good melting action happening today, and that's a great thing. However, everything is just going to ice over even more after it gets cold tonight. And so melting is a blessing and a curse. As the snow and ice on the roof melts, slowly but surely it is coming down the roof line here, and it almost wants to come off in these ice shingles. So I'm gonna get my shovel and knock those down along with the icicles just to make sure they don't fall on the horses. I've actually found where just a simple garden hoe is perhaps even better than a shovel at knocking down these ice shingles that are hanging off the roof here. At least for today, the back side of this run-in is looking much better. So we are just at a week post-winter storm Fern. Today is Sunday, and so the storm rolled in a little over a week ago. It was like Saturday into Sunday. And so, we have just had this sheet of ice everywhere for a long time now. I'm really ready to see ground. I'm ready for it all to melt and just go away. After the melt, we'll then have the muck, and it'll be so gross that I'll be wishing it to be frozen again. But for right now, it's feeling a bit like Groundhog Day. Every day we get up and we bring hot water out to the horses, and we're chopping paths so they're not too slippery, and I'm knocking off those, ice shingles and icicles that keep forming. And the melting is good, but I just know that anytime we get melting action, it's going to refreeze because our nights are still getting super, super cold. I want to say I saw like 7 on the thermometer this morning. So the bulk of this is not going to melt and go away anytime soon. And I think I'm getting ready to start using some, the ice melt. I found a bag that's supposed to be more environmentally friendly. It's supposed to be safe for animals. And so we might have to start sprinkling that on paths because my arms are getting tired. I'm just getting really, really worn out from chopping ice and paths every day. So my husband's working hard at it today. I did a little bit of chopping and I was like, I can't do it anymore. I'm done, I'm toast. So again, everyone's doing well. The sun is shining. We have a little bit of melting happening, but this has been a long, long week. I'm not really sure what to do about my horses eating my de-icers. Or my fences, for that matter. He's over there chewing on the fence. These de-icers, I had one last winter and it worked really well. My minis did not bother it. But this year, I think a lot of it is just the boredom. Again, it's been icy for over a week now. The horses can't go out and graze. There's nothing much for them to do. And because of that, I think they're just getting into this, that, and everything, such as pulling my de-icers out of the troughs and or chewing on them. So I'm not sure, I might have to find some other type of de-icer, some other type of trough, but for right now, this is what I have. And when they get to be just too rough on these de-icers, that's exactly what I didn't want to have happen when the horses were in their lot. Those are some of those ice shingles I was telling you. I did not knock them off though over the feedlots because I'm not using my feedlots. But that giant crash that we just heard, that was a big sheet of ice that just fell to the ground. Startled me, startled shenanigans. You can see there's a small amount of those ice shingles and icicles remaining in the middle. I knocked them off down on the far end, and this giant sheet here is what just came crashing to the ground. So that was quite something. Gotta be careful. I guess my gut instinct though was right to knock them down. I'm so glad that wasn't over my horses. That could have been horrible. So again, that was kind of exciting. I didn't expect to be standing here to see them or hear them crash down, but I have been noticing that they want to melt and kind of they're shifting and hanging over the edge. And so it was just inevitable that at some point they were going to get too heavy or even melt more and the whole sheet of ice could come off. So we do have to be really careful with all of this melting that's happening. It's still really slick and quite dangerous in places, and every day is different, similar but different. So we'll continue to do our best to be careful, and hopefully you are careful wherever you are. It is so slick. There's no need for a Zamboni out here. All you need is a pair of skates and off you go. Everything is so, so slick. The path that we sprinkled ice melt on yesterday is not near as slick this morning. Late yesterday afternoon, We had a huge sheet of frozen sleet that came off the back side of our run-in here. After picking my run-in here, I need to get my wheelbarrow over there to my manure pile. But this is where those giant chunks of ice fell off the roof yesterday, so I need to chop these up and get them out of my path. After the warmer temperatures of the last few days, you can hear there's finally a little more of a roughed up texture, although the ground is largely still covered with several inches of this semi-frozen sleet. It's not as slippery, thank goodness. You know, here's a footprint and it is still, 6 inches deep maybe, but we're starting to thaw and melt ever so slowly. After a few warmer days and some softening, we ended up with a little slush that is now refrozen, but all of this added texture does make for much better traction. Look, it's snowing again. We're not supposed to get much, I don't think even an inch today, so I'm not worried about this. But it's just a little more whiteness on top of what's already white and frozen, so nothing new around here. We are most definitely back to walking on top of frozen solid ground. And guess what? The chipping and the chopping of ice continues. Today, my task is to try to remove as much of this ice and slush that sits behind the barn, right here by my red gate. Some of this stuff is really, really frozen solid though, and so the best I can do is chip up the sleet on top, remove that, and then like the bottom inch or two of ice, it's just gonna take time. And because it doesn't get a lot of direct sunlight, it's going to have to wait for those really warm days next week, probably, to truly melt. So again, what I'm doing is helping, but it's not the magic fix by any means. Here is a look at just how thick this chunk of sleet is that I chopped out of the back. It's every bit of, 2+ inches here. It's got some ice at the bottom. And, this is largely what is still covering this back field where it does not get a lot of direct sunlight. I've done what I can back here for today with the help of my new favorite shovel, the flat end here. You can see though, the ground is still covered by a layer of ice there. That grayish ground is still frozen, but I was able to remove a lot of the sleet and slush that was on top, which means soon this ice will get more direct sun and then it will start to melt. So I am hopeful that in a few days time, things will be looking much better back here. And hopefully this melt can begin to run off and drain into the field, not into the back of my barn. Now our paths are still white, but they're slushy white. They're not slick ice white anymore. Moving in the right direction. Although the vast majority of my pathways are clear, I do have a few patches of really slick icy stuff. This area here sits in the shade of the compost, and so as I walked past earlier, I wasn't paying attention and I almost wiped out on this ice. It's really, really slick. So note to self and note to you, if you're traveling around and you have these hidden patches that are still slick, be extra careful. We are really getting some good thawing around here these days. It's now the middle of February, a little past, and you are beginning to truly see some ground. I'm pretty excited. Our backfield is still pretty covered, but it is getting much, much thinner, I'm happy to report. Even after 3 weeks, you can still see how all of this is still pelletized. It's still those little round sleet pebbles that fell. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this winter montage. It was quite something. We did survive, and we're all the wiser, all the stronger for it. I have never experienced a winter like this before, having spent my whole life here in Central Virginia. And honestly, I hope I don't again, because it was just It was exhausting, and I'm so glad that it's behind us now. The grass is turning green. You can hear some of the birds in the background. So spring is truly, truly just around the corner. So check back soon because we'll have all sorts of spring updates, and we hope to see you in the future. Bye, guys.